We have breaking news. There are multiple reports that Canadian singer-songwriter Robbie Robertson has died at the age of 80. He led the Canadian-American rock group The Band in the 70s. Robertson was instrumental in creating the Americana music genre. Robertson also pursued a career as a solo artist. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Canadian Music Hall of Fame. Robertson is also ranked 59th in Rolling Stone magazine's list of 100 greatest guitarists. Eric Alper, music commentator, is joining us now for more on this. Let's talk, Eric, first of all, about your reaction to this news. He was such a figure in the music scene.
Yeah, saddened, shocked. Like many of my colleagues that I've talked to in the last 10 or 15 minutes, nobody was even aware that he was ill. But this certainly comes at a blow, not only to music fans around the world, but also particularly here at home because of the huge and significant influence that Robbie has had on the music industry and his contributions to music as a musician, as a songwriter, as a storyteller, as a collaborator for films. You know, there might not be anybody else that was cooler, that was hipper, that lasted so long in the industry, drawing inspiration from American history and folklore and his own experiences to create something literally from nothing and helped create the alt country and folk roots genres in the process of it. This is a huge loss to the music industry and music fans around the world.
Eric, you know, you were mentioning some of his collaborations. He worked with Bob Dylan, he worked with Martin Scorsese, and he just completed his 14th project with Martin Scorsese. Talk to us a little bit more about that side of him and how he was able to transition from being a guitarist and a songwriter to someone who was working in film.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it sounds like it's a wide berth on paper, but when you go through the band's and Robbie Robertson's solo work with such strong lyrics, his own ability to stir up emotions in his songs, to kind of weave these vivid narratives throughout the process of a 3.5-minute song, it's really no surprise that he ended up working with somebody like Martin Scorsese or other directors on soundtracks, because he had the ability to blend so many musical styles and genres together, and kind of building the artistic mediums, whether it was, you know, in that clip before of the band playing at the last waltz for their last concert, to working with Martin on fictional tales. It's not that big of a stretch to say that his experiences and his storytelling in songs was easily lent to somebody else doing it just behind the camera.
Talk to us a little bit more about his influence as an artist. I mean, you know, somebody who has had his career must have had an impact on a lot of musicians, not just in Canada, but elsewhere too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he just influenced everybody. It's no stretch to say that. I think anybody that worked in the country music world and the folk world after any time from like 1968 onwards, he influenced the Beatles, and particularly George Harrison. On their last photo session, the Beatles looked like they were members of the band. They were wearing, you know, brown suits, just like the band did. They grew their hair long and beards, just like the band did. And in fact, it stretches all the way from the Beatles to Taylor Swift. In fact, her last couple of albums, including Folklore, were based in the folk roots movement that the band helped create. So not only do you have those two giants on either side of one another with the Beatles and Taylor Swift, but somewhere in the middle, there's probably a million bands that have been influenced by the band's sound.
Eric Alper, music commentator, joining us on this today. Thank you so much, Eric, for helping us to remember Robbie Robertson.